Drop down. Up right. Up together. Down. Okay, how are we going to do this? I'll take the first act. Okay, anything marked with Mr. Speakman's name, we're going to be splitting the class. So, he'll take the first hour, I'll take the next 20 minutes.
Break before you close that door.
Anyway, have a good time. Sir?
All right. Yeah. One of the reasons we're doing that is I don't know how the person will like it.
Sir, just happy you're here with us.
Can I? If it's okay with you, because not everybody here is in the AKKS, many of you are, then we'll have our business meeting and stuff later, but it has a different agenda. But I have a couple of things I wanted to say. You're just like 2 minutes into that first. Just have a seat. Just relax for a second. Here's what I want to do. I want to do something that whenever I do it, I always get in trouble for it, so I don't do it. But I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do the same thing with the other class. And that is I just want to volunteer some information, too. I just want to kind of share with you a little bit of what I've learned over the years, what I think is important, what I think is the reason why we're together, and most importantly, how we're going to move forward into the future. And I think this helps us all kind of be on the same page. We're all here from like-minded people, we have a similar vision that's going to help us move together. And often that is accomplished by a rare thing in martial arts, and that is clarity. So I wanted to take a second and just kind of share with you my thoughts on what I'm doing and where we're all going together. First, as I mentioned earlier in our opening, we've been working with you, taking your comments. We're trying to tailor this whole weekend to make it more affordable, more efficient, that kind of thing. And many of you have been so helpful with that and patient with us and helped us get through our growing pains. And I think you can start to see the professionalism coming out, the quality of the work that Mr. Cappy's doing, the quality of the newsletter that's out. It's going great. I mean, it's just going great. And now I'm seeing the results of a concept and idea that I put together years ago. And so that's kind of the clarity I wanted to bring forward. And we have a great thing happening, because remember I asked you, when you come forward to please, if you have a problem that you want it dealt with regarding the organization or your place in it, come with at least one solution to the table. Don't just come and complain. Or don't just come to talk just because you like to hear yourself talk. Be productive in what you bring to the table. We're all equals. In my opinion, there isn't anybody who's any better than anybody else. And that's also kind of separates us from a lot of other people in other places. But it's an important concept, one that it shouldn't be taken lightly. And on the other hand, there may be some conversations had with people where things weren't quite as convenient for them as they would have liked them to be. And so instead of coming to us with that problem and then a solution, or maybe us saying, look, we're sorry about that, and they go and coming back with a response, sure, yeah, I'll go with you on it this time, but can I help you with something else? That's the kind of spirit we're looking for. If you come and you say, well, if that's not going to happen, then I won't come. And if I don't come, then my students aren't going to go either. That ultimatum thing is not the way to deal with me or to deal with us. And it's not the way that I think we're going to be productive to move forward into the future. So, if you are of that kind of mindset, please understand that there aren't any arrogant kind of lapses going on here. We're not just, buzz off, we don't like it, just take a hike. We care very much and we think of ourselves as equals. We're all in this together. We're trying to find our way through this thing that's sitting in front of us. So if you come to us even with a problem and maybe it can't be solved right away, then say, okay, I got it, and what else can I do to help? As opposed to giving me the ultimatum kind of thing, because that's the ticket out the door. We're not in this for numbers. We're in this for healthy and moving forward. So the point of this is what I learned from being with Mr. Parker for so many years. And then, in the years that I was with him, I was with him all the time, so I spent more time with him in 4 years. Most people spent with him in 20 years. So I got to know him well. And then beyond that, because of the movie thing, I got to know his hopes and his dreams and his, quite a bit of the person and the man that maybe other people didn't get to see. And then, because of what I do for a living, I've traveled the world extensively. And that's how I met many of you years ago, and I've met many other people, and it dawned on me about the diverse nature of the art. And that's the strength of what we're producing here. That is the nature of this weekend. That's why you see people who come from very different backgrounds in Kenpo are all coming together under the banner of the AKKS, because it is we don't have a hidden agenda of trying to convince everybody to do it my way. But my observations now brought through something that I have great clarity on, and I think it's the point. It is the point of why we're here. And I began to observe other organizations and other schools, and I was kind of like this, and that's why I'm bringing this up. And I looked at this model or this paradigm that seemed to be present today in other organizations, but also I had certain aspects of that in my personality. And so I started looking at what exactly is the goal of us, why are we together, and what's happening on the other side of the line. What is it that I don't like about what's going on? And it became very clear to me, what is the primary motivation? When you have the primary motivation, as many places do, of a word loyalty, which is a word that's terribly misused in the martial art community, if loyalty is your number one objective, then that suddenly becomes skewed to really not loyalty, but really some kind of weird blind faith kind of a thing, right? Where you're not supposed to question your leaders. You're not supposed to, you just shut up and follow along. And in order to promote that kind of loyalty, usually what happens is instructors unwittingly go to a type of manipulation, coercion, or guilt, or punishment, you can't go to speaking's camp, or, that kind of thing. When people start to limit your personal choice and your ability to grow as an individual, that's the earmark for you to watch out. That loyalty, messed up to blind faith, using coercion and manipulation can produce only one kind of student, and that is a follower. That is an equation that creates a follower. That's someone who has blinders on, who knows that their instructor is the instructor, who knows their organization is the best organization. Well, it may be, but it also may not be. There is no objectivity. What I want to have created, what we all have done, is our first primary goal is to create free-thinking people. And I think when you do that, now you don't have that loyalty, that guilt, and that manipulation as part of your motive. We try to use logic and science and open-mindedness, and that creates free-thinking people. I want you to judge me. I'm asking you to look at me and determine whether you want to be a part of this, and then come in and be a helpful part of it. By doing that, by having free thinking as our motivation, that produces the kind of student. That produces the kind of student that is a problem solver, a person who evolves, who opens their mind and stretches their mind and becomes a new and better person. Then you become part of the solution. You become a problem solver in your community, working with the groups in your community that you work with. And that's what we're trying to produce here. And I think we're all on the same page, and I think you're the same people, but I think it's nice that we line this out. So that's what we're after. We're not after followers, we're after co-leaders, if you will. And often I'll refer back and I'll think of how I reacted to someone in my world that I teach in, and maybe I start falling back into that over-manipulating, over-controlling kind of position. And then I think, nope, that was the wrong thing to say. I'm not going to do that again. I pull myself, because what I really want, you want to go study somewhere else? I'll hold the door open for you. You're welcome to go out. You want to come back later? You can come back later. That's the kind of feeling that I wanted to create. That's what I want to promote within how we interact with one another and how we interact in the martial art world and in the Kenpo community. And that's really the heart of what I am and what I'm trying to do. And the real reason why I wanted to take this 3 or 4 minutes and line this out and talk about something that might seem incredibly obvious is this. We're moving in a wonderful direction. We've got people joining that are great people, and everything is going on. And this is the reason why. And here's the point. If something should happen to me, this doesn't have to stop. If I go away, if I'm no longer on this planet for whatever reason, you guys have to keep this going. There are intelligent, like-minded people that are in place, and you are all in place, and we all understand that we're in this together. This can't be built on one person. Don't pay attention to the messenger, pay attention to the message. Right? So that's what I want us to, even if it seems obvious, we all know what's going on. It has its own energy. It carries on, with or without me or any other person for that matter. There isn't a hidden agenda in there. I don't have anything going wrong in my life. I hope it's not prophetic statements. I remember last year when Speman said, "God, how did he know that?" But I don't want it. There's nothing like that happening. But the important thing is, as we all know, things happen in life. People go away long before their time. And we have to stay focused on what's important. What's important is how we can help each other become better people, and how that can affect you, and you pass it down. You pass it down to your students, and then they pass it down, and it becomes a wonderful experience of being what really a black belt is all about. And that's it. That's what it's all about. Okay? Questions or comments? Put up your hand. Okay, you're out. So with that, if you're all comfortable with that? Does that feel right?
Sure.
Yeah. We all don't have to agree on everything. But if we agree on just where we're going and where we're headed and what we want to produce out of all of it, then you know what? Nobody can stop us. Nobody can stop us as long as you feel like you're a part of the energy that we're creating. And that's just a feeling that's where I'm coming from. I know that's where everybody else is coming from that are my friends and my associates here, and that's okay. Any comments?
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Yes?
Is it true that you made a perfect weapon too?
It's not true yet, but we're very close on doing Perfect Weapon as a television series. Weekly 1-hour action drama. Land of the Free is out on HBO with William Shatner. It's doing very well. Escape from the Lack is the kids movie I did is now on video. 2 more movies coming out, but they're both done by a company that's in Chapter 11 now, so they're restructuring. So they don't tell me when they're coming out. They don't answer the phone. So
Kickboxer, kid.
no, that was the television series that dropped. So that's why Perfect Weapon is now. What I did was the same thing happened with that happened with Perfect Weapon at Paramount. The company was bought by somebody else. The CEO is bounced, and then when he bounced, so do his producers, and out go all the projects that they're working on. They just sweep clean things. It's tell me about it. I had 3 more pictures on the contract with Paramount, but they didn't really care. So, and then I'm doing another movie next month called Running Red with the same producers that did Land of the Free, where I had to kill Captain Kirk, and that was tough to do. I didn't want to kill him. Sometimes you have to kill people in movies. You got to go over it. Okay, well, let's go to work. Here's what we'll do. I'll start us off, and Mr. Pulver will take over about halfway down the road. And this is what I like to do. Something that I avoided for like 10 years now is actually teaching techniques like right out of the book and their extensions. Because usually what happens is then that opens you up to just be filleted with all kinds of controversy, right? Now he taught me this, he taught me that, and all that kind of stuff. And then, no, in my book it says this, well, in my book it says that. But I think we're all beyond that now. I think that we're in a place where we can start sharing information and understand that it's not coming from a bad place, it's all coming from a good place. So when I went to Europe last time with Mr. Sepulveda, it was the first time I actually started teaching the actual extensions that, proper. Usually what I do, as you know, when I've visited your schools, is I'll take a piece of this technique and a piece of that one and a part of this extension and build it all together. And that way everybody goes, that was fun. But you don't cross over into that. But I started to do it and people loved it. I mean, they loved it because they had the same reaction that I had, which was, wow, this is in our art. This is wild, this is nuts, this is crazy. And so if you keep that in mind, that's the spirit that I'm trying to share with you. Not that this is it, and that's not it. You know me by now. You know that. So let's do a couple. Let's do 3. We'll do 3 techniques, a couple oranges and a purple, and we'll do the actual literal extension the way that it's done, so you can kind of see that. So let's do thrust and salute first. Okay,
Sir.
So the first move, you block. Okay, you kick and strike. slapping check with your right hand, crossing it with the heel palm first. So you're going to try to take some of that line. So the line of the kick is coming in here, and I help redirect the energy first with this slap, and also going in that direction. Then I step off in the opposite direction. I'm doing the double factor, which just helps increase the probability of success, right? So also, when I bring my right hand across the slap, I, in a sense, cock my left hand over here. So now it's in a good position to do a really strong downward block. And I'm going to come off my bicep as I step back. So I'm going to actually try to come off my body and help throw my left hand back into that block a little stronger. Okay? Right hand, move. Good. Beautiful. Wow. First time. Come on back. And move. Good. Now your kick will come from the point of origin. And as it moves, your left hand will come up to check as you strike and then plant it. And your left hand is in what position? Positional check. Positional check, right. Excellent. So my knee should be checking the lower zone. My hand is striking in the upper zone, so that obviously leaves the middle zone, so that's why you check in that position. Okay, let's do one more time and then hold that position and we can go on. Block. Strike. Good. Now I want you to do a front crossover. So you hit him up underneath. Up goes his head. Your right hand's going to do a sliding check down right to the bladder, and you're going to do a front crossover with a left punch to the solar plexus. So the punch is descending slightly. So you want this to happen to the person's body. Down and back. Okay? Now from that position, what I want you to do is unwind to a neutral bow. And as you unwind, your left elbow is going to go from point of origin and go into the small floating ribs on the right side of the rib cage. So now, you know, you were always in a twist stance. We've done a lot of striking in a twist stance, but now you're actually, from your twist stance, unwinding into an inward elbow, which is kind of a different way to come out of a twist stance. But if you think about it, that's what the purpose of the twist stance is. You know, you're in a position where you have built up energy because you're twisted. So when you unwind, now you're using just the width dimension. Okay, let's start from the top. Block, kick, strike, front crossover, hit, unwind, hit. Very good. Now, I'm going to unwind and hit here, and my hand is checking low. Now I'm going to pivot from here into a forward bow, and I'm going to do an inverted four-knuckle punch up under the solar plexus, lifting up. And my hand comes over to cross check. Now from here, my right hand is going to bounce off that strike, reorbit back up and do an overhead looping strike to the left temple. That action creates this action, turns his head and begins to move it that way. You borrow that energy as you unwind to a neutral bow and do the same strike with your left hand, so it's a four-knuckle strike now right into the mouth and into the nose as you unwind from a forward. So I've gone from here and I unwind with that hit. And then I let that energy carry me to a front crossover come around. Yeah, so don't do it so that when I get to here, I just unwind here and then move. You know, let it go from here. Then let it carry you right out, so it's a really big hit. So you gotta get this is really the easiest of the three that I want to do, so I thought I'd start here. Okay, block, kick, strike, front crossover punch, unwind elbow, into the forward bow punch, over the head strike, and the other side with a cross out. Now both of these strikes are elbows high. Both of these strikes, the last two strikes, are little knuckles high, and you want to bend your wrist in, so I'm actually hitting with a four-knuckle strike. So the one strike comes here, hits this way, and turns his head, and the next one, like that. So right when you hit from here, I'm going to come, so my elbow has to be up. Then when we go down the line, so if you're doing this and your elbow's dropping down, that means we're going to hit like this, and it's bad news. Go to your heavy bag in your dojo, and after you've done the elbow and wind up here, try to do those two hits, boom, boom, and unwind with that hit. And do it so that your four-knuckle, because some people do this, and then of course we have more damage to your wrist than you do to the guy's face. It's not a good idea. So try that on your heavy bag a couple times a different way. Why, in the ideal phase, do you cock your hand to your right hip and thrusting salute? But yet, when you do the other side, when you do deflecting hammer, why, when you do deflecting hammer, your left hand doesn't go to the chamber, your left hand goes here? Why is it okay to do it here? Why is your right hand supposed to go to the chamber here? Why, Chris? handling incidents at the end, you guys can walk right into the field pond. All right, think before that.
You're on the outside of the list?
If you have a right kick, you can hit him with an angle incident. He's probably not going to be able to spin around
There. So the difference in those two techniques is one has an angle of incidence, obviously thrusting salute, and the other has an angle of what? Deflection. So an angle of deflection forward, the guy's doing the same attack. You're going inside or outside. So an angle of deflection, as it comes in, it actually extends and drops over, and that's why there is no negative orbit. That's your intention, and you accomplish that. When you do thrusting salute, you have an angle of incidence, a hard angle, so you have to use opposing forces, because you need the strength of that move. So that's why it's this, because I'm using opposing forces going out. So when my right hand comes back, my left hand's going out strong. Yes, sir.
When the hand comes back, isn't it like a spring out? It just comes right back out. It doesn't stop it.
That's correct. It doesn't stop.
You don't stop motion.
It isn't the hand that dictates the next move, it's the right foot.
Right foot.
And that's the point I was getting to, which is the launching. So when I get here, as soon as I hit, I'm already moving because I'm using an angle of incidence, I cock my hand. That creates the potential for a negative orbit. How do I cancel that negative orbit? Timing. Timing. So instead of going to make that hard move and then launch, it's got to be one move. So as soon as your right foot hits the ground, you launch back in, because the goal of how the technique works, with no room for error, is the timing of having, come on, 1, 2, order beat timing. That's like what do you call the, right, you know, like the, okay, we're moving on. Come to me, believe me. The hand sounds good. You know, yes,
Second syllable,
So, all right, so that was the only thing on that. Now let's go on to the next technique, okay? All right. Swinging pendulum. Swinging pendulum. Okay, find the stance.
Yes, sir.
He throws the kick, you do the block. Push, drag, shuffle forward with a hand fist. Move up the circle with your lifting, obscure elbow. So your left foot is at what number on the clock?
130.
Okay, volunteer. How did I know that would happen? All right, so easy. And he throws the kick. Boom, there's my block. Here's my hit. And here's this hit. And I check down and lift up. Now I go front to back, and there's my solar plexus hit. I continue my rotation to a forward bow, my glancing strike and wrap around. Pulling it into here, but notice my left hand. Let's now do 180. After this, I'll see where my left hand is here. It's already in position. So after I pull him into the knee, then I just come up and I don't let go with my right hand. Here's that sandwiching. From here, my left hand is going to come up and create a bracing angle with the back of my left hand against his left side of his jaw. Because I'm going to do something that's going to make his head want to turn to the left, but I don't want that to happen. So after I've done this hit and back up, then I come around in this position. My hand never leaves his face. Palm down, follow his ear, and slice him across the eye. And his head wants to turn and on the left. So it's a sideways finger slice, crane position of your hand, so that you're using the sides of your fingernails to slice like a razor blade. It's not a claw scratch. Very different. You just do that on your hand, you'll feel like what the claw scratch is. Now turn it sideways and run 2 or 3 fingernails, and it's like a slice. Right? So you never leave the contour of his head, because I know if I can come close to the top of his ear, I know I'm going to pull right into that right eye. So I flick that way and let my wrist do the work, and his head won't turn, because I'm holding it here. Now I'm going to go palm up, anchor my elbow, and flick the other eye, and his head does turn. And I wanted to because it turns right into my collapsing elbow. Now I begin my step back. Rear crossover back knuckle to where I can reach the target. Unwind with a hook, step around, and spinning hook kick. And that's how. So he shoots the kick, watch him go ahead. Block, strike, hit, down, up. But then the loving way. Hit, sandwich, position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's just get us to this position. So I come here and hit and back in position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to use my step back to my twist stance, unwind with my right hook, and that momentum carries me into the spinning kick. The timing of, one more time.
Yes, sir.
If you just stand still on the horse stance here, like first you did that. We get to here. The timing of this is, so this is just going to do one of those. While it's doing this whip is when I want to borrow that energy. These movements are, 6 or 8 inches long, and they're very, very nasty. They're very interesting, and they're very effective. But this is part of, I think, where we're evolving to in the physical dimension, having really, really, really small, tight movements, going to specific targets that create this kind of action. And I've always seen this kind of thing as an evolution to the knife fighter. Because that happens in little teeny circles. So we go from this to the sticks to the knives. But, look at the difference between 4, 5, and 6. When you start getting to 6, it's all circles and your hands are constantly moving and all that stuff's happening. And then pretty soon, contain your circles even a little bit more and put a knife in each hand and just use the blade-to-blade concept where your knives never cross. All of a sudden now I'm doing, it's the same thing. That's why it's a nice, easy evolution. When I did Perfect Weapon, I picked up a pair of Kenpo sticks 6 months prior to Perfect Weapon. That's the first time I ever touched a pair of sticks. It was just the same thing. It was just, and if you approach it with that, if you get the art in that evolutionary kind of concept, which is what I think he intended for us to experience, then it makes perfect sense of where we're going, smaller circles, tighter, more vicious, deadly strikes, greater effect on the body, greater respect for the art that we've come to study over all these years. Right? So don't forget, after we do this and then turn the knee and I come up, my hand just stays here. So it just goes to a right angle. So that's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? I know that for you, sir. Thank you, sir. What we got?
Mike,
So from the back, I'm going to try to kick with my toe up right underneath the groin for the purpose of pinching that nerve to paralyze it. After that kick, twist stance side kick. From the side kick that you do, I come back and I anchor my left elbow and I grab a hold of the left shoulder. Just wad up the coat or shirt or whatever. From here, I'm going to go into a twist stance and I anchor him down and pull him kind of backward, and I drop with a hammer fist across the collarbone. It's a path of action strike all the way to the hammer fist on the solar plexus. So I twist into that and hit, and then from here I shoot my knee to the spine while he's falling, and I drop back with my foot back again. Now I'm going to start to unwind. As I unwind, my right hand still being in front of him, I unwind and I'm going to do an inverted heel palm claw up under the chin. So he's starting to fall, but I'm going to knock him up this way. And then unwind to a reverse bow with a left heel palm. So it's a double strike. It's a windmilling kind of strike that you've probably done before. But here's what's cool about this. You got to really image what the body is doing. Okay? So after I do the kick and then I twist the guy down and I hit him here and I hit him in the spine, he's on his way down. But while he's dropping, I hit him twice, stretch him out. But he is going to drop. So I hit him twice here, and now he's going to drop, and he's moving a little bit. So now I'm going to do a rear crossover, and as he drops, I'm going to go into a close kneel. I'm going to do an inverted four knuckle strike with my right hand while he's falling to the base of the neck. So try to image that. And you think there's some techniques to dummy up that were tough before. This one's tough to dummy for. You got 3 hits while you're falling down. So it's 1, 2, 3. Come all the way down to a closed kneel. Catch him in the base of the neck as he's falling. Then he hits the ground. Then from here, I unwind to a neutral bow, and I'm going to do a jump spin downward roundhouse kick. 360-degree circle. And the kick to the groin, this kick, grab and reversible, twist stance, hit, knee, lift it up, step back, down to the ground, the shoulder blades. Long way around. Then when you get really good at that, from the neutral bow, do it from the close kneel. Try to come from here, and go up and all the way back around. Okay?
Watch your camera.
So it inverts, and I hit with a heel palm right here. See how I just contour along, and then it becomes a heel palm claw. Now when he starts to go, I'm going to claw with my left hand, and then just hit on him. See how that works? So when I hit him here, it just contours and stays in contact with body, and I'm going to rip open. See, and I want him to, like a cartoon. And then I can see where the next target is. Now my knee is go over here to catch me in the back. But that's that whole idea. When I come around and strike into this position, my hand stays in contours. So you see how you turn around and go into a twist and you go kaboom! They're just going to go. So you go kaboom! Pop! Yeah, so you go boom! Stand up. And then boom! Then you stretch them out. And there's the neck. You go up that target. Okay?
Yes, sir.